Well, see if anybody joins in here. Hey, Park Kangaroo made it. Morning. I didn't know. I know this was unscheduled, and I was not. I didn't know if I was going to get to do this morning or not, just because I had a few other things that came up that I had to prioritize. So, good morning, Park. Good morning, Joey. Or afternoon, as it may be, depending on what part of the world you're in, I suppose. I guess that's part of the problem with going live around the noon hour Eastern time. So, yeah, Gearfest. I didn't get to go. I was planning on going, and had been planning on going for quite some time, and all of a sudden, I was going to go up. I had to work Friday, so that wasn't going to happen. But I was going to go up Saturday morning, and hang out for the day, and see. I'd never been, so I don't know what all I was gonna get to see actually, but there was going to be. I know David and Jim from the Practical Guitarist podcast were going to be there. David was. Jim unfortunately fell and sounds like he sprained his ankle really bad. That's a long drive for him, so he wasn't able to make it. But David and a couple of the guys were up there, and I was hoping. I was hoping that I was going to get to go, and some things came up at the last minute Saturday morning again that I had to take care of. And so it didn't happen. So, but that's okay because the rest of the gear YouTube world has documented the entire event pretty well at this point, and I've got a pretty good idea of what I missed. And yeah, so it is what it is. Fret Level Midnight must be a newcomer. Welcome to you. It says, do you like any Metallica album after the Black Album? Yes, as a matter of fact, I do. I am a true diehard Metallica fan. I love the early stuff. I hate the production on Kill 'Em All. Can't stand the production, but the music is great. Of course, Ride the Lightning is probably my favorite record right now, and I go back and forth between what my favorite Metallica album is. Usually between Ride the Lightning, Master Puppets, and Justice for All, of course. So it's usually one of those three that's my favorite on any given day or week or month. But I love all of those. I love the Black Album, of course. The Black Album is the Black Album changed history for a lot of things in our industry. I like both of the Load albums. I wore both of those out when they came out, especially the first one. And I even like Saint Anger, believe it or not. It was their best record. No, did I like how they produced it, particularly the snare drum? No, but again, I think the music was definitely a departure. And I don't, it wasn't their strongest album, and there's probably 3 songs on that record that that I like far more than the rest of them. Those are really the main ones that I listen to. But but yeah, I don't have a problem with that album. I know they caught a lot of heat for it at the time, and they still seem to today. And I went and saw them back in March. Which, I'm still very grateful that I had the opportunity to go because it was right there in the front row. And if I haven't mentioned, I got to see Metallica sitting from the front row, or standing in the front row here back in March of this year. And there's even a video on my channel documenting that experience. But, but you go, live nowadays, they don't play anything off the Load album or off of the off of Saint Anger. They didn't even play anything off of Death Magnetic. So, I thought they might at least play one song, but they didn't. They stuck to, um, they stuck to everything off of Hardwired, which is their Hardwired to Self Destruct is a great album, by the way. I really, really enjoy it. Um, they, so they have they played, of course, they played about 5 songs off of Hardwired, and they played a couple of songs off the Load albums, and everything else was First 5 records. Everything else, and they played for about 2.5 hours. It was an experience. So, so there's the long answer to your question. Do I like any Metallica after the Black Album? Yes. The only thing that I refuse to recognize is that Lulu thing. So that's not Metallica. But everything else, yes. Greatest metal band that has ever walked the planet, and there's no other band that has inspired me more than that one. Random guy says, "Have you heard that Gibson lost the Flying V trademark?" I read a little bit. It was late last night, and I think I saw a headline or something about it. I didn't really dive into it. And honestly, I had forgotten that I had even read that until you just brought it up. So, it doesn't surprise me. Looks like we're talking. Looks like it's only in Europe only here at the moment, but it's. Here's the thing, when I turned on the camera and I did that video on the whole Gibson Dean lawsuit thing last week, there was a lot. It was still pretty new, and by the time it went live, it had been a day or two it had been a couple days since I had filmed that, and more information has since come my way, but I've thought a lot about it, and here's my updated take on the whole thing. When it comes to the trademark stuff of the Dean and the Z and of course the headstocks and logos and that stuff. If you look at the core of this lawsuit, I think really the main trigger of the entire lawsuit was the the acoustics. I think they're under the Luna brand. And basically they, Luna, Dean/Luna put out a couple of acoustic guitars. One of them was, they called it like the little, the little bird, and the other one was like the white dove or something like that. They weren't even trying to come up with something different. They were very, and they're very obvious, clones of the hummingbird and the dove. That's what triggered this whole thing. And I think those guitars came out around 2000. I think in 2015, Gibson sent Dean a cease and desist in 2017, and but on the timeline, this is all still under the Henry era. Apparently cease and desist they did not, so the lawsuit was filed, and here we are today. I gotta assume, if you look at just that part of it, what a lot of people are not acknowledging as, especially with the, with the designs of the dove and the hummingbird. Just that part of the lawsuit. Those are their trademarks, and they have to defend them. They have to, because otherwise, if they don't, then if enough time goes by, and there seems to be all kind of speculation of what that time period is, it seems to me to be in about the 4-year range. I've just based on what I've read on it, but I'm not a legal expert. I'm not sure, but regardless, if enough time goes by, those designs become public domain. They no longer have the ability to defend them. So, as they are pursuing the lawsuit with the Dove and the Hummingbird models, I am going to assume that that Gibson rather decided to go ahead and toss in the lawsuits on the on the Flying V, the Explorer, the headstocks, all that stuff, and it totals up to 7 different. I don't know if it's different counts or if it's 7 different lawsuits. I'm not sure how that works, but it's 7 individual instances, for lack of a better term, at $2 million apiece. So the most they're going to get out of this is $14 million. Now the one on the headstock, the one on the claim on the headstock, the split V, dovetail, split tail headstock, whatever you want to call it. I guess technically Gibson did come out with that headstock first. That was the original headstock on the prototype for the what I referred to as the modern in that video, and all kinds of Gibson fanatics have lost their damn mind and had to correct me. It's pronounced modern. You call it what I'll continue to mispronounce it, and everybody else can continue to misspell it. But whatever you want to call it, I think the original prototype of that guitar had the split V headstock on it, but it did not go to production. So, I don't know what if there's a trademark law there or not, but that's one of them. I don't honestly, between that, again, you got the Flying V and the Explorer thing. You got the 3-3 headstock thing. Most of them, I don't think they've got much of a case on. The acoustics, I think they've absolutely, from a legal standpoint anyway, I think they've got a case, and I think they're going to win. The rest of them, I think too much time has certainly gone by. Now, regardless, I don't think this is about the money. Because, I think this is about, I think this is a warning shot, honestly, to the rest. I think Gibson threw all these other lawsuits in with the acoustics, as we're this far, we might as well. So they throw them all in together, and Gibson says, and the rest of the guitar world basically freaks out. So, I think it's a means to try to earn back some of that market share. Now, will it work? I don't know. And and I think it is, and it's a little dirty too, to be honest. But I think it is kind of a dirty move. But at the same time, if I'm Gibson, I don't know that they've got any other choice. So I don't. With especially now when it comes to the acoustic stuff, that one especially those two they have to pursue. There's no question. The headstocks, et cetera, I doubt those are going to go anywhere. So, who knows? I mean, there's a lot, there's a lot that's got to happen between now and then, and and whatever then is, I don't know when they go to court or anything like that. So, that's the other thing, it was also the lawsuit was filed in the same. It was a court in Texas that it was the same court that was also in the news recently regarding I am just going to mention it as a political topic, and they passed another law that upset quite a few people on one side of the fence, and this is that same district, that same court that is known for siding with large corporations. So I don't know. We'll see where it goes. We'll see where everything lands, but. The more I think about it and the more I talk about it, and I've never been, I certainly hope I didn't give off the impression that, that I'm knocking Gibson for any of this, because I'm not. The Play Authentic video was a disaster. That never, I don't know who signed off on that, and I certainly don't know who signed off on it being uploaded. But, whoever it was, that was a colossal mistake. They should have gone about it. They should have taken a totally different approach to it. And, really, I like what David Hill said on the Practical Guitarist when they were talking about it this week. And he's absolutely right. What they should have done is they should have jumped into, they should have shot a video, and said there's a lot of imposters out there. There's a lot of, a lot of stuff out there that is not Gibson. But we are the ones that are building it authentic. We're going to continue to do it right, and we're going to do it better than we ever have. That was David brought that topic up on their show, and I agree with it. That's absolutely the message that they should have sent. However, what they put out was was a real bad idea. And and again, I'm not pointing fingers at anybody over there because I don't know who called the shots on it. We know the face that was on the video. That was Mark Agnesi, and I don't. I'm not convinced that any of that was necessarily his decision either, because when you watch that video, and they took it down after the initial backlash, they took it down almost immediately. But it wasn't before enough other people had a chance to upload it, and in that instance, when they before other had a chance to download it rather, and then they downloaded it and re-uploaded it onto their own channel, so it's out there. You can find it. I think I even posted a link to one of those in the description of my video talking about it. So it's out there. You can see it, but when you watch that video, you can see it in Agnesi's eyes. There is something. He is very uncomfortable with something. He's reading from a teleprompter, and I just get the impression that he's not exactly 100% on board with the message that he is being told to deliver. So, I don't know that the blame needs to go on him. So regardless, whoever it is that signed off on it, was a big mistake. They're gonna have to take a PR hit on that for a while. But the lawsuit stuff, I'm finding their position harder and harder to argue with. Again, I don't particularly like it, but because it's a little dirty in the instance of the Z and the Flying V. I mean, Dean's been making those for 40-something years, and I think it's pretty clear. And again, me not being a legal expert of any kind, but for everything I can tell, those aren't going to go anywhere. Those cases aren't. So, and neither are Dean's versions of them. I personally happen to like the Dean Z. I think that's a kick-ass Explorer guitar, and I've always wanted one. So. For that, for my own personal reasons, I hope that one doesn't go anywhere. But we'll see. The other thing to keep in mind is this isn't Gibson picking on the little guy. Dean are not a teeny tiny little guitar builder anymore. Now they're owned by a much larger distribution or a much larger company called Armadillo something or other. I think they're based over in Europe, maybe. I can't recall, but Dean is not a teeny tiny little guitar company anymore. And they have the resources to be able to handle this. So there are my updated thoughts. Let me get caught up on this thread here, because you guys have been chatting amongst looks like some of it's been chatting amongst yourselves. Others of it has been a question or two, and I want to get to them all. So, and if you're just now joining us, it looks like there's a few, might be, we're up to 25 people here already, so that's awesome. Thank you all for joining us and coming and hanging out with me here on a Saturday, particularly on a Saturday that is, this has been a pretty rough morning for me. So, and I may talk about some of that here in a little bit. I may not. I haven't decided yet. Let's see here. I want to get caught up on a thing or two. Joey Van Ostrand. I was astounded by hardware. Time is a whole nother ball of wax. Joey says, I was astounded by Hardwired. We were talking about Metallica earlier, and he says, I was astounded by Hardwired, as in Hardwired to Self-Destruct, Metallica's most recent album. Says, it's a great album. Learning some of the material off the album hasn't been much of an issue. Keeping up with it, and In Time is a whole other ball of wax. Funny you say that. When I saw them, they started, James was, they were in between songs, and James was addressing the audience, and, he was doing his thing, and, he said, now we are going to play, I can't remember which one it was. It was a Moth into Flame, or I don't think it was, yeah, it was. I think it was Moth into Flame. They were getting ready to play Moth into Flame. It was later in the show. They'd probably been out there for an hour and a half already at that point. And so they were getting ready to play Moth into Flame. And that starts, the intro to that song starts with the guitar harmony between James and Kirk, and Kirk came in. Kirk came in 4 measures too. 4 measures too early, or a measure too early, rather. And obviously everybody on stage kind of looks around at each other, and then everybody looks at Kirk, and then James kind of motions that this starts playing what he's supposed to be playing right now, and meanwhile Kirk sits there and goes. And it was funny. So, so then James got back on the mic and said, "Hey, remember you guys met my friend Kirk, right?" And then he says, we're all allowed one mistake a night. So, that's okay. And let's if anybody's gonna give Kirk Hammett a hard time about that, dude, go screw yourselves, because you're not a real musician if you've never done that. So. But you're right. There are, some of the time signatures and stuff like that on that album are very, very complex, and that part of their music has continued to evolve a lot over the course of their career. Death Magnetic had some really weird time signature stuff in it. I don't know how they managed to play any of that stuff, after getting it recorded initially. Well, let's see. Park Kingery says, thoughts on the movement to cover up the Gibson logo on your guitars. I'm not that butthurt by it, to be honest with you. I know a lot of other people think this is just the evil Gibson Corporation thing, and this is how they're going to boycott. But if people feel like they want to do that, by all means, go right ahead. But I'm not. This to me, this is just stuff. This whole Gibson thing is just stuff, and when you look at it from from the right perspective, like I said, it's what else are they gonna do? What else are they gonna and it's the most that they can hope to win is $14 million, which is that might pay the electric bill for a month, maybe, for them, maybe. I mean, that's it's not it is not a big amount of money. So it's not about the money, it's about market share. And I don't necessarily like the way that they're going about it, in some of these instances, like I said. But if I'm being quite honest about it, I don't have any better ideas for them. So and I think it's pretty clear that they don't either. Departure from normal steering wheel. Michael D8393 is with us here this morning. Let's see. What else we got? You guys are chatting amongst yourselves. Mike Rody says, I just don't understand all the internet hoopla. Well, it's a hot topic. And, yeah, I to be honest with you, I was not planning on doing a video on it at all. It hadn't even crossed my mind. And then I got, I got an email, or I can't remember if it was an email, or if it was a private message on Facebook from a couple of viewers, one in particular. But he really wanted to hear my opinion. He really wanted me to weigh in. So, I figured, all right, what the hell. So, I sat down, I turned on the camera, and did a video. And fortunately for me, the video did pretty well. But I'm trying not to make a big deal out of it, man. I mean, it's here in another month, this whole thing will at least have begun to blow over, and the guitar world will be pissed off at somebody else about something else, completely unrelated and stupid. So let's see. So that's the reason why I jumped in on it. I jumped in on it for my own my own personal gain, mostly, and also because like I said, somebody wanted to hear my opinion. But Let's see. The guitarist has really destroyed nearly all their claims in recent videos. Yeah, he says some things I agree with. He says some things I don't agree with. I mean, I've busted him. I've busted him red-handed. One time he was, he was going on he was doing a video about Guitar Center or something. He was, referencing a particular article, and he mentioned, the CEO's name. The CEO that he mentioned, I knew from working for them, had not been CEO of that company for several years at the point that video went up. And it turned out the article that he was referencing was several years old and had just was making another round on the internet, and he thought it was new, and and basically started a whole nother GC controversy and et cetera that wasn't even legit. So he seems like a good guy, and he does have a lot of knowledge. I'm not taking that away from him. But he's not a channel that I follow real regularly. So, and to my knowledge, I don't think he follows mine either. So, and that's okay. Let's see what sticks. The EU lawsuit was actually filed several years ago. Chances, Russ Keeney says, my understanding that the EU lawsuit was actually filed several years ago. Chances are it was. When it comes to the legal system, anything in the legal world, nothing moves quickly. And this ruling over the EU regarding the Flying V trademark is. I guarantee you that one's been cooking for a while. There's JC's only been running the place since, what was it, November? Or when did he come out? When did they hire him? October, November, something like that last year. So, he's got 7 or 8 months under his belt, I guess. But, he hasn't been there long enough, and I know that we all know that he's been focusing on other things, such as, fixing the product and the QC issues, and working on on pricing structure, and I think he's done a pretty good job of all of that so far. The new line of Gibson guitars that are just released, the new ones that don't have model years on them, that was one of the things that they dumped, thank God. They dumped the model years, and they just put it back to a good old-fashioned, Les Paul standard is now a Les Paul standard, with no robot tuners and push-pulls and dip switches and, circuit boards and, all that stuff that nobody wanted in there in the first place. And to be fair, they do have a separate line of guitars for those people that did want some of those features. But, the core diehard, Les Paul, Gibson, Les Paul and Gibson players that didn't want any of that stuff. Pardon me. That guitar is, now the Les Paul standard, and that guitar now sells for $25.99. And I don't remember the last time a Les Paul standard was, what was that, 2004 maybe? The Les Paul standard was $25.99, maybe. I remember, when I first got into the MI business in 2008, they were $28.99 then, I think, $27 or $28.99. So, to go down $200 or $300 below that, let's give the guy some credit. I mean, his focus is in the right place, and he's trying to do the right things. And I actually got to sit in on a training with the Gibson rep here just a few weeks ago, and he brought some of the new ones, and I got my hands on some of those new Les Pauls, and they're nice guitars, man. I would own one. They're exactly what the world's been screaming for. So. Where are we? Fret Level Midnight says he better have gotten paid a pretty penny for making that. I'm sure he's being, his salary is, I'm sure he's, they're doing okay. So I don't know that, they're paying him millions, but I'm I'm sure that they made him a very fair offer to lure him away from what's the name of that shop that he was running, that the YouTube channel that he did, something's rare, somebody's rare guitars. I can't remember the name, Dave or something like that. I don't know. I can't recall. But he was a manager. I guess he was managing that place, and also doing the YouTube thing for that company before going to work for Gibson. Rotan Lavour de Vitris. I am quite sure I just murdered your name, but welcome to you. And he says everybody wants to absolve the skeezy Mark guy. Yeah, but again, I don't know that he's the guy to blame for that video. Yeah, he was the guy that was on the camera, but he was clearly reading from a script or a teleprompter or something. And as I was talking about earlier, he was not comfortable doing what he was doing. You could see it in his eyes. Seemed to me that he was a hostage. Janice Lawless says it seemed to me that he was a hostage reading a script. Yeah, that was the exact same impression that I got. But your employer hands out an assignment that you don't like, and you're if it's to the point your options are either carry it out and stay employed or wonder where your next meal's coming from. I get it. So we all have to. Everybody has a job that sometimes they got to do some things they don't want to do. That is part of life. Norman's rare guitars. That's it. Following guitar range includes Dean. More thumbs up needed. Yeah, more thumbs up are needed. Let's see. Christian Kushmik, hello from New York City. Christian, hello from Indianapolis. Thank you for joining us this morning. It means a lot to me, really, that you guys take time out of your lives to come hang out in my little bitty weekly-ish live feed. So can you guys hear me okay? Somebody Joe Hervey says the audio's a little low. I thought I was doing okay. Let's stage fright to the matter change play line. Let's see who all is here. Dave Severin, Dave R's Guitars. Good morning, Dave. Luis Villarreal. I'm sure I just murdered your name as well, but welcome to you. Joe Hervey, 84. James Sanders. Alan Scherer is with us. Edgardo Perales. Wow, a lot of new people here. A lot of new faces. Thank you all for coming and hanging out. Holy shit, we just hit the 30 watchers mark, which I think is that's the most I've ever seen so far since I've been doing these. So 30 of you. Wow. Yes, this is this month's Silver Sky. Although that one was even dumber. Why? When the Silver Sky came out, people started going ballistic over that. That was I can't for the life of me figure out why anybody made a big deal out of that. It was pretty simple. John Mayer's relationship with Fender went south, to the point that after that whole thing ended and that whole blow up happened, he got on the phone to all the retailers around the country that still had Fender John Mayer signature guitars and bought them all up himself. I don't know what the point of him doing that was, but that's what he did. And next thing you know, he went to PRS, and PRS designed him a Strat style guitar. Okay, nothing wrong with that. Not like every other guitar company out there isn't just like what we're talking about. And that's a design that's been around for eons, and Paul even put their own, a few of their own twists on it, like a 3-3 headstock, and the PRS signature cutaway carving, and things like that. So Luis Villarreal says, will this eventually make the value of the Dean guitars go up in value if Gibson wins the lawsuit? They'll, like I said, I think the only portions of this lawsuit that the Gibson really is likely to win, and probably the only ones that they're planning on winning, are the ones on the Luna acoustics. Now, are the values of those going to go up? I think those acoustics in question, I think, are actually made in China, or I think they're import models, China or Indonesia or something like that. I doubt it, man. I mean, there's like this small, contingent of people out there that, that just love lawsuit guitars and think that they're going to be really, really valuable one day because they were lawsuits. But those guitars have had 4 years of production at this point, and they're not. There's plenty of them out there, so. And there and other examples of that, like Takamine had a lawsuit Martin back in the 70s, early 80s or something. You don't see those very often, but when you do, it's not like they're tons and tons and tons of money. They're $1,000 or something like that on the used / vintage market. So, are there going to be serious values of these things going up? No, I doubt it. Highly doubt it. Highly doubt it at all. James Sanders says, I like the pointy guitars myself, as do I. I've got a whole pile of them. So, yeah. Putting new strings, different type on an old guitar. I now can't put it down. Alachair says, by putting new strings or different type of strings on an old guitar, I now can't put it down. Anyone have similar experience? Yes. As a matter of fact, I have been an Ernie Ball Slinkies guy for most of my life, and it doesn't matter what I try. I always end up going back to them. I will always love my Ernie Ball Slinkies, but here lately I've been actually playing Elixirs, and I've always used Elixirs on my acoustics, but this is the first time I've actually really tried using them on electric. And not only am I using them on electric, but I'm actually using the polywebs, the ones with the real heavy coating. I like those because, they're very, very slick and fast and fast playing. Allow me, which makes it easier for me. So I've actually never tried them on electric that much, and it just didn't make sense to me. But for whatever reason, I decided to give it a shot, and I'm glad I did, because that room back there where where you guys see most of my videos, where all my guitars are and stuff, man, it's whatever reason, that room gets real humid, and it just eats guitar strings this time of year. The guitars that I play more often, that's not a big deal because I'm going to change them anyway. But the ones that I don't, if I do want to go grab them on a rare occasion, now pretty right at the moment, especially right now, I've pretty much got to plan on changing guitar strings every single time before I do. So, and that is not, I don't always have time to do that. So, matter of fact, I've gone to grab my Hammer Scarab and play it a few times here recently, and I can't because the strings are shot on it. So, I'm hoping that for those guitars that I don't play as often, if I put Elixirs on there that have a proven much longer shelf life, that will work in my favor. So, just a personal experiment. Hopefully, we'll see. Edgardo Perales says, good morning, Robert. Ed here from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. I'm not too late, I hope. You are not. We started here about 40 minutes ago, and, we usually go until we run out of steam, to be quite honest with you. Until there's nothing more to talk about, and when people start falling off, and all that kind of stuff. So, no, you are not too late at all. We are really just kind of diving into it. So far, we've talked about Gibson, we've talked about Dean, and we've talked about Metallica. We've talked about Mark Agnesi and all kinds of stuff. So, Audio Adventures says he's a new subscriber. Welcome to you. Says, hey dude, new subscriber here. You said you were from Texas. What part? I'm in Austin. Do you have a store? I am originally from Houston. However, I am not located there. I am now in the Indianapolis area. And to answer your question, this is probably the question that I get asked more than any other, which is, do you have a store? No, I do not. I do not own a shop. I don't have a guitar store or anything like that. All the videos on my channel that you see, particularly the ones in back there in my guitar room with all the guitars hanging on the wall and the amps all over the place, those are all mine. Okay, all of my videos are filmed here in my own home. So that is my music room that you are seeing, and that is all of my gear that is in the background that you are seeing. So, however, if you would like to support the channel, you can certainly do so by clicking any of the Amazon links in any of in the description of any one of my videos. And there is also always the option of going and buying yourself a t-shirt or a piece of merchandise of some kind in my Teespring shop. So, those are the best ways to support my channel, and in both instances, you get a little something back out of it yourself. So, but no, I do not have a store, and that's it never ceases to amaze me how many people ask me that question. All the time, people think I'm producing videos from my own private owned guitar shop somewhere. So, okay, so some of you think audio is fine, some of you think it's too low. I'm going to leave it alone, and I just moved the mic a little bit closer to me here a minute ago, but I'm going to leave it alone because I've got the level on this condenser mic. This is the same mic that I always use, and the level's at the same place it always is on the interface. So I'm going to leave it alone. If it still continues to be a problem, you guys can't hear me, then I'll see about turning it up a little bit. Okay. MHot18, we join you in your dungeon. One of the funniest things, somebody left a comment. It was, and I think it was on that Joyo Ultimate Drive video that I did a few weeks ago. I think it was on that video. Some dude comments, says, bald fat guy invites me into his dungeon. Out of here. Oh man, definitely a troll, but I couldn't help but laugh at that one. That was funny. Park Kingery says, which pedal I sent stands out to you the most? I've only played 3 of them so far. So I've played the, matter of fact, I've got most of them out right here. And to answer your questions, no question, the one I like the best is the Horizon Devices Precision Drive. But the Green Bastard is growing on me. Not that I didn't like it to begin with. Actually, I did. This is one I didn't know what to expect because I've never played. This is a pedal based on see if you guys can see it. This is a pedal based on the Green Mad Amp. And there is some kind of history there between Mad Amp and Orange or something. I don't know what that history is, but there's some history there. Regardless, there is an amp that looks like a green Orange amp, but it's not. It's called a Green Mad Amp, and this is a pedal based on that. And I've never played through one of those. I've heard a few demos of them, and they seem pretty cool, like something I would like. But admittedly, I don't know a whole lot about them, so I plugged this in and didn't really know what to expect. And matter of fact, I just finished editing the video last night, so you guys will see it here in a week or two. But it's cool, man. This thing, just, no matter how high up you turn up the gain, or you turn up the bass or the preamp or whatever it is, you can turn all that stuff up pretty high, and you get it just doesn't get muddy. There's no mud to it at all. It stays tight and stays really, it's great. And it's not necessarily a real high gain pedal either. So I like it. Another one he sent me is this is a limited run of the Precision Drive. And I'm going to be editing the video for this one as soon as I'm done with the live stream here today. But yeah, this one's been my favorite. This one's been my favorite so far. I like it. I like it a lot, and I really want one of these, and I really wish they were not $220, because I don't have $220 to spend on a pedal right now, because I still have to pay off some other gear, among other things. But I still got, I don't know how many pedals you sent me, 8 or 9. I still got half a dozen or so of them to get through. But the other one that I've checked out obviously is the Plasma Drive. So in that video, I think we'll go live this week. So that one wasn't what I was expecting either. That one leaned a little bit more towards the the big muff fuzz neighborhood, which isn't really my thing. But the pedal itself, is actually really cool. Let's see. Jay Steen is with us. Mitch Hammond is with us. Christian Kushmik. I think I may have already greeted you as well, but if I didn't, welcome to you. Fret Level Midnight. Thank you, brother. I greatly appreciate that. Very greatly appreciate that. Fret Level Midnight also says not interested in Lunar guitars. You know what? They actually play really well. If they're, a lot of them kind of have this, you can tell they're definitely marketing toward the female players with a lot of that line. But regardless who they're made for, man, those things play really, really well. So. And they're built well. They got real good solid tops on them, and seem to be they're pretty awesome. Janice Lawless says, you mean like the value of having a band album cover? I think a band album cover is probably more valuable than a lawsuit guitar, to be honest with you, because I don't know about that either. I mean, it's, two different scales, I think, like band album covers. I think the body count, the album cover for the one that had the Cop Killer song logo on it when that song got banned back in the 90s, I think if you've got the actual an actual copy of the record that still has Cop Killer on it before they banned the song, that may be worth a few bucks today. I don't know, but I'm not sure. James Sanders says, "Hey Robert, what is your favorite guitar?" Oh man, that's like asking a guitar player what his favorite song is, man. The guitar that I've always wanted, and Barbie, it's hot today, so I am enjoying guzzling my ginger ale. I've always wanted a Les Paul Custom, man. I've always wanted a Les Paul Custom, and those damn things are so expensive. They've always eluded me, and I've never been able to buy one. They're hopefully one day, but that is my dream guitar. So, not too picky on the year. If I can get one before what was that, 2011 or so, when they when they had to switch the fretboards over to Rich Light from ebony. I prefer to have one with an ebony fretboard, but we'll see. That's the guitar that I've always wanted. My favorite guitar. My favorite guitar that I own, no question, is my Music Man Majesty. No question. Yeah, no question. My Majesty. A buddy of mine had one a couple of years ago, and he let me borrow it to demo on my channel, and I was absolutely blown away by that guitar. I did not want to give it back to him, but I was absolutely blown away by it, and I had to have one myself. So I saved my money for a year and a half to buy that guitar, and all the guitars that I own, that one's now my favorite. Prior to that, I never thought a Schecter would be my favorite, but the Schecter that I use in a lot of my videos is up there too, just because it's just with the coil taps and the Floyd and the pickups, it's just and the neck profile. It's got a really thin, really fast playing neck that I really, really enjoy. And I didn't expect myself to be playing that guitar as much as I do, but it's such a versatile instrument that there's times I almost have to pick it up. So that one's kind of made me a Schecter convert as well. Prior to that, my favorite brands were always Gibson and BC Rich. So, I've got a Mockingbird Special that I like quite a bit. A couple of other BC Rich guitars. I've got a Joey Jordison Warlock, but that one's tuned. I probably ought to change it so I could use it more often. But I got that one tuned down to real low, down to drop B, and I hardly ever play in that tuning. So that guitar doesn't get played very much because of it, unfortunately. But I suppose it's an easy fix. But I'm sure the time's going to come when I do want to play in that tuning again, and that's the only guitar that's set up for it. So. Let's see. Eric Gutierrez. I scrolled down once and I jumped all the way down to the bottom. Hang on 1 minute. And then there's somebody peddling their eBay shop here in my live chat. That's cute. Oh, man, you guys are chatty today. I'm having a tough time keeping up with you. Hey, Robert, what do you recommend for a greenback sounding speaker with high power handling? Thanks. Probably the Panama guitars, the Panama guitar speaker. They've got a couple of British style speakers. One of them being it's not the Phonico Blue. The PRB is the one you want. The purple back. They've got the PRB. I think is the model number. It's called the purple back. So I think those handle. I want to say they're 60-watt speakers. Maybe not quite that much, but for some reason I'm wanting to say they're 60-watt speakers. But their actual speakers are really, really good. Their cabs are really, really good. Good sounding cabs, innovative too. A lot of them have built-in attenuators and stuff on them. So, and they've got a couple of the best vintage 30 clones in the business. They've got one called the D30 or the Dirty 30, and then another one called the AV30, which is stands for aged vintage 30. It's supposed to sound like an old aged 30-year-old Celestia vintage 30. I like the D30 myself better, a little bit more modern sounding, but for a greenback, you might check out the Panama stuff, and some of there's all kinds of stuff. I'm sure Warehouse Guitar Speakers has probably got a few options that would fit your needs as well. So, James Sanders says Dimebag Darrell designed the Razorback. He helped design it, yes. Unfortunately, never got to play it though. And that is a sad fact. Yeah, I've heard good things about the String Joy strings. I haven't played them myself. The other ones that I'm kind of curious about are the Tomastic strings, and those things are like $25 a set. So the reason I'm curious about them is they're just because of the price tag. I want to see what's so special about a $25 set of strings. So maybe I'll try one of these days. Flat Fritz is here with us. Welcome to you. It sounds like this may also be your first time to the live stream. Let's see. Also here with us that I may not have said hello to. Oh yeah, there's this Chance McFadden dude that's like trying to peddle his eBay shop, and here in my live stream chat. I don't know. I guess I should probably kind of take that as a compliment that that my live stream chat is growing to the point that even spammers want to stop by. Yes, Park Kingery, by the way, does have a reverb store, and I have demoed a couple of his pedals on my channel, and we are talking about doing more here in the future. He opened up his own his own reverb shop. And go check out I think both videos that I have done demos of his pedals on. I think the link to to Park's Teespring, God, why do I keep saying that? The link to Park's Reverb Shop is in the description of both of those videos. The links to my Teespring shop are going to be in the description of those videos. Flat Fred says, "Hey Robert, have you had any issues with payment from Amazon?" Zero. Once it was a bit of a process to get on board as an affiliate with them, but and I don't sell a whole lot on there. As my channel grows, and when I have a video take off, then I tend to see a spike in activity in my Amazon affiliate stuff, but I mean, by a spike, I'm talking $15-$20 here and there, not hundreds by any means, but when they do pay out though, I've never had an issue with it. So they seem they seem to be pretty good, be pretty good about it. So I've not heard of anybody else having an issue with it either. So I mean, to me, it's just kind of all I do is post the links, to post the Amazon links to the gear I'm talking about in the descriptions of my videos, and then I kind of let Amazon do the rest. So, okay, sorry, number 22. Hey, Rocket Dave Byron's here. Says, "Hey Robert, sorry I've been around. Just got back from a gig in Key West. Hope all is well." Yeah, that must suck. Yeah, boy, what a hassle to go play a gig in Key West, Florida. So I guess unless you live in like Miami, because I guess that's like an 8-hour drive from one to the other. But still, I've been to Key West. We went to Key West. It was the first stop on the cruise on our honeymoon when we got married, and so we got to spend the afternoon walking around Key West Island, checking it out. Man, what a beautiful place! What a beautiful place! And even with even with as beautiful of a place it is, they there at that time there was like 350 bars on on an island 2 miles wide by 4 miles long. Which is one of the things it's known for, of course, but man, what a beautiful place. I want to go back and visit there some point, and get a chance to stay longer. We had a great time. A lot of stuff to see and do in such a small little area, but man, it was beautiful. Let's see. That green metallic with double humbuckers looks great. It's on order from Toman USA, inexpensive 4 weeks delivery. Green metallic with double humbuckers. I mean, that's obviously a guitar, but I don't know what you're referring to. It's likely a Harley Benton. So if it's an inexpensive 4-week delivery from Toman, I need to buy one of those myself, man, just so I could say that I've tried them and I have one. Those guitars apparently really, really well made. No laminate tops. I guess they're actual real thick maple caps on them, and on the Les Paul models and stuff anyway. So who knows? I think James Sanders. James Sanders says, "Hey Robert, do you have any tattoos?" I do not have a drop of ink on my body, believe it or not. As much of a metal guy as I am not. I don't have any tats, and nothing. Certainly nothing against them, man. I love artwork as much as anybody else, but I don't know, man. When I was younger, I was kicking around. Getting some ink at one point in time or another, and I considered it a few times, and I never did it. Part of it just because I didn't get around to it. Part, at the time I didn't want to spend the money, and but the biggest reason, I just don't want anything like that on my body that can't be removed. That's a permanent thing, and yeah, I just don't want them on my body. So tattoos are cool. They're just not for me. Park Kingery says, "I'll let you play mine when I'm in town." You must be referring to as Les Paul custom. Park is actually from my part of the world, and he's got a pretty nice stash of guitars up here that is not down where he lives. Hey Robert, I have a Tom Louis Villarreal says, "Say Robert, I have a Tom Scholz X100 from the '80s. Have you ever played through them? Was that the the power soak attenuator thing that he did? Let me look that up. Tom Scholz is when it comes to musicians who design their own gear. I mean, Tom Scholz was Eddie Van Halen before Eddie Van Halen. To be honest, and he's a brilliant guy. There's a video up of him on YouTube. Oh, that was the amplifier. Okay. Yeah, that was the Rockman. I think that was the thing that they recorded. The Boston recorded, and I can't remember the name of the album now, but whatever that first album was that Boston had that really took off, I think he recorded that whole thing through through an X100, through a Rockman. Is what that was. So now I've actually never played through one. My local Sam Ash has had. I don't know if it's the same one or if they've got several, or they've just they keep buying and selling. I don't know. But it seems like every time I go in there, they've got this Tom Scholz Rockman in their sitting in their used case. And I can't remember a time when I went in there and it wasn't there. And it's. I don't know. I don't even remember the price tag on it. So it could be that they've had the same one for years and it's just overpriced and they can't get rid of it without losing money on it. But I don't know. No, I've never had the chance to play through one. Janice Lawless says, "Luna Guitars, is that the one you said for women? Got to check them out." They do have a yes. They for female players, they are certainly a lot of their designs anyway. Not all of them, but a lot of them are certainly geared towards female guitar players. They're a little bit smaller in stature, and some of the aesthetic designs are a little girly, for lack of a better description. But I think they were designed to compete with the Daisy Rock stuff, but except like good quality, because Daisy Rock guitars are garbage, at least all the ones that I've seen. So if you are if you're a woman and you're a guitar player and you want something that might be designed a little bit more with a female perspective in mind, you might want to check out Luna Guitars. So I'm sure they would appreciate the support right now. Harley Benton Fusion Series, man. I haven't looked at their product line in a while. I don't even know what all the different series they might have right now. So the Agile, the AL Les Paul style guitars kind of have my attention as well. Particularly I really like the one with the fan fret, the 6-string with the fan fret multi-scale on it. Fret Level Midnight says my only bass is my Schecter 5-string other than a true P bass. I lost that for no other bass now. I've got a BC Rich Eagle bass. That's the only bass that I own that I use for tracking and videos and stuff, though. But I am actually in the market for a jazz bass because, the jazz basses, I think, especially for recording, it's just going to make it a little bit easier for me to mix. Jazz bass has got a little bit different snap to it, be it with those single coil pickups that, the BC Rich, the Eagle bass just doesn't do that. So, but I've gone the cheap bass route before a couple of times, and I paid for it. So, both of them I got rid of, and I don't, I've had 2 cheap basses along the way, and I don't miss either one of them. So. Park Kingery says, I'm really looking at the Harley Benton cabs, and those cabs are some of the best values on the market. I mean, you can get a vintage, like an actual vintage 30, well-made, solid vintage 30 oversized 212 cab for like $250, and then I think, it's a little bit of shipping, because, they're over here in Germany, I think. They're over there in Germany, so, I think they only charge like, you can order thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars worth, and they'll only charge you like $50 to ship it over here, all of it. So, when you order from Tolman, place a big order. But pardon me. William Woodward says, you said coil tap on your Schecter. Do you have coil split or coil tap? They so often get used interchangeably that I was curious. They do get used interchangeably, and I'm very guilty of that. Coil split is what I meant to refer to, or what I should have referred to. Yes, I too am guilty of using the 2 terms interchangeably, and I do so shamelessly. One of my best scores, Michael D says, Mike Rohde and I thought my Gibson M3 was a scorer, only 900 at GC used. Probably my best score was I got my 2001 Explorer, the one that you guys have probably seen it in my videos a few times, the one with the red and orange and yellow airbrush paint job flame looking thing. I got that guitar for $500. Park Kingery says the Teespring shop is coming. Okay, so we got a good thing. I guess I didn't misspeak. Yep. Rockin' Dave Byron says he's probably stepped out by now, but because I know he's rehearsing for another gig. But he says, I used to live in Chicago. Wife and I moved to North Fort Myers about 2 years ago. Key West is about 350 miles south. Lots of pubs to play at, but a lot of politics, but still fun. Yeah, I knew you were from Chicago. Well, all you gotta do is watch one of Dave's videos to know he's from Chicago. You can hear it as soon as he opens his mouth. Luis says, just say it, Robert, your wife doesn't want any ink on you. I actually made that decision long before we met. So, nope, she, I honestly don't think it would bother her that much if I did decide to go, get an M or something tattooed on each ass cheek. Oh, let's see. Yeah, Fret Level Midnight says the EQ's so damn good on my Schecter, I don't require a J bass for that tone, in my opinion. And for a lot of people, you may not, but and the primary thing I would be using it for is recording. So I mean, I can do it with my Eagle bass, but jazz basses are number one. They're just it's a little bit more common tone, and I think, that little bit brighter snap that I was talking about is just a little bit more conducive to me in my very, very novice mixing skills. There's my ginger ale coming back to say hello again. So that's the main reason I want it. Plus, it's just, how would it not be handy to have a jazz bass laying around? Especially when I only have one bass to my name at the moment. Let's see. Michael D says, nice, Robert. My only $500 guitar thus far is my Schecter Sun Valley Super Shredder, which was on sale the 4th of July for a couple years back. Yes, the Sun Valley Super Shredders are awesome, man. That same friend of mine that I mentioned earlier that had the Majesty, first turned me on to those. He also had a Super Shredder, Sun Valley Super Shredder, and I think he may have just recently sold that as well. He might still have it. I don't know, man. I got to demo that one too, and that's another killer guitar. For what do those things sell for, $700-800 or something like that. I think his is the Sustainiac version, so I think his is probably in the 800 range. But man, what a killer guitar! Killer guitar. They've got the Schecter that I'm very likely to pick this up here in the next month or so, just because I'm tired of looking at it on the internet and I want one in my hands. But they've got a model out right now called the CR6 that really has my attention. There's a couple of Schecters that really have my attention. They've got that one, and then I think the other one's the C1 Elite that I really like. That's the higher end neck through jobby. And of course the Sun Valley Super Shredders. But I don't. I'm probably the CR6 is just too cool. Plus it's that's a hardtail guitar, so it'd be nice to have a Schecter that without a locking tremolo that I can jump back and forth between different tunings on. And that is one limitation of my Blackjack because of the Floyd on it. It sits where it sits. So the C1 Elites are really, really cool. I like those guitars a lot. I'd love to have one of those, but they're a little bit pricier. Those are up around $1,200-1,300 range. The Super Shredders aren't too bad, and then there's one of the new Banshee models that I kind of like as well. But I think between the Banshee and the C1 Elite, I'll still go with the C1 Elite when the time comes. So there's also a couple Ibanez guitars that I'm eyeballing, and I'm always eyeballing. If a stupid deal happens to come my way for another Majesty or or of course I'm always waiting for somebody dumb enough to offer to sell me a Les Paul Custom for a lot less money than they should, but that day has not seemed to arrive yet. The one that I demoed, he had the Sustainiac in the neck and the EMG retroactive, that same EMG that you mentioned in the bridge. So same guitar, just Sustainiac system in it. So, but the Sustainiac makes a big difference in that system itself. I think even just buying the parts for it, buying the Sustainiac system's like $350. They may not be that expensive, but putting them in, getting them installed into a guitar is not cheap either. But you got you got to find somebody that knows how to do it, and that's not easy. And fortunately, my guy Tony Ramsey can do that. Should I run into that? However, if I can buy a guitar that already has it in it to begin with, that would just make things a lot easier for everybody. Oh, we had a vacant house next to us here. It's been vacant for several months now, and unfortunately, I think our former neighbors were forced to leave, and then they had trashed it, to be honest with you, and then so. Construction crew came in and spent several months working on it, getting it cleaned up and remodeled and, making it a nice home again. And somebody just recently moved in. here in the last week or so. So now there's all kinds of activity going on over there, which is likely why you can hear my dog Zoe going ballistic in the background. So, Luis says, one of my amps is a solid-state Fender London Reverb that I bought from a friend that used to do gigs back in the 80s. It's got a 5-band EQ, sounds really good. I have never heard of a London Reverb. Interesting. Let's Google that one, shall we? Fender London Reverb. Somebody knows what it is. At least Google seemed to. Looks like it's out of the same series as like the what do they call it? I think it was like a Princeton chorus and some of those they're basically solid state versions of some of their more famous tube amps, but they would stick like an effect name on the end of it, which makes sense. So, picture I'm looking at is from 1983. Yeah, those Fender solid state combos, that series from that era. Anyway, man, those are all pretty good, especially if you're looking for clean tone. I've had an itch to those the pedal world, the pedal community are all going. I haven't heard so much about it lately, but there for a while, I mean, they were all going ballistic over the PV Bandits, and you can still buy those amps brand new for $400. So they still make them. It's a little 112 combo, but they're I think now they're like 80 watts, so still solid state. But the pedal community, there's a lot of guys that think those things are just totally killer amps. And I've never considered it as anything more than a cheap Fender solid state combo, but I don't know. I'm kind of tempted to buy a new one just to see. I know it's the older ones that everybody wants, but I'm kind of tempted to buy a new one just to see what the hoopla is all about. Dave Byron says, Robert, do you remember the Fender M80 amps solid state, but heard from metal? They sounded great. Oh, yeah, I remember the M80s. M80s were awesome, man. I'll tell you, though, in my opinion, the best amp Fender has ever done for metal, no question, is the Fender Supersonic that is still made today. The first one of those I ever played was the 60-watt 112 combo. Man, that thing sounds killer. The best version I've ever played, though, they've got a 100-watt head, and they actually make a 412-inch 30 cabinet to go along with it. That amp kicks ass, man. If there was one Fender that I was going to buy, and the other thing about it is it's got all the classic Fender clean tones in it too. Not all of them, but it's got some of the classic Fender clean tones in those things, man. If I were going to buy a Fender amp right now, no question, that's the one it would be. I don't know why I don't own one. Well, I do, just because anytime I've ever had the money to go buy one, there's been other priorities. But it's one of those things that I've always kind of wanted in the back of my head, but it's never made sense to buy one. So. But yeah, if I were going to buy a Fender amp, it'd be a Supersonic. But to answer your question, Dave, yeah, the M80s were awesome. Great amps. Let's see. Dwight Bailey's joined us. Welcome, Dwight. Fender Machete was a one-year metal amp. I don't remember that one. Fender Machete. God, man, Fender's come out with so many amps. Well, Fender, that was actually pretty recent. There's a video from 2012 of Rob Chapman and Lee Anderton on that video. So that was 7 years ago, but a lot more recent than I was expecting. Fender Machete. I have never even heard of that or seen it. What the hell is that thing? Is it a tube amp? Yeah, it's tube. Wow. Huh, you guys are educating me today. Fender Machete. What the hell do these things sell for? Whoa! A combo, used combo on reverb for $1,400. That was another one. Guitar Center's got one for $1,000. Holy shit! They must not have made too many of these things. I've never heard of these. Wow. Let's go check out reverb here for a moment, shall we? Actually, let's go to eBay. Fender Machete. There's some dude trying to get $2,100 for his. Finest Guitars, whatever that is. Alright, let's go to completed listings and see if anybody's bought one. Negative. Nope, there's one sold. Pardon me. There we go. Okay, sold April 11th. And this listing says it was a limited run, number 48 of 75. Okay, so it must have been a very limited run. This particular looks like it was a 50-watt combo. Probably, I can't tell if it's a 112 or a 212. I'm guessing a 112. Sold for $899. And there's a head that was listed at $909.90, and then somebody accepted a best offer on it, so it's probably lower than that. They probably took $8 for it, if I had to guess. That's all that's listed on eBay for those. Let's go check out reverb real quick. Of course, if there was only 75 of them made, chances are that we're going to find a good deal. Find one at all is not likely. Fender Machete. I'm going to have to watch that Anderton's video now just to see what these things sound like. There's one head and cabinet, matching head and 12 cab on reverb for right now for $1,300. Which, I don't know if that's fair or not. That seems... The head, if we just found another head that sold for $800, $500 for the cab seems a little much, but interesting. Fender Machete. Josh Cozy. I'm going with Cozy. Has joined us. Says, how's your Saturday going? Saturday, to be honest with you, it was pretty rough. We had a pretty rough morning. So, my mother, unfortunately, had to say goodbye to one of her cats this morning. And so I went with her. And, it was tough for both of us. That's never... I discovered I've never been through it with anything other than my own pets, and that's hard enough. But it's not much easier even watching somebody else go through it. So, my mom is she's having a pretty sad day. So, but beyond that, we're doing okay. $2,100. What is he huffing glue? That's the only thing I can imagine. Because I wouldn't pay $2,100. I'm not sure I'd pay $2,100 for a used any Fender amp, even a vintage one. Let's see. Got a Fender Roller dual professional tube amp. Those are kind of cool. Yeah, it's not easy losing a pet. It's not easy. We went through it. We went through it about what was that, 2.5 years ago now, with our dog, our first dog Holly. That was tough. That was real tough. But now we got Zoe, terrorizing, not terrorizing, but she's she's been a great dog. She's been a real good dog. She's barking her head off at stuff going on outside the window right now just because that's what she does. But she has been a great dog. And I don't even want to think about what's gonna be like when that day comes for her. So Zoe, come here. There she is. Hi, baby. Hey, baby, come here. Come here. Come on. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come on. Here we go. You want to say hi to the interwebs? Yeah. Smell the microphone while you're up here. So. Yep, just a microphone. That's not food. That's not food. A friend of mine back in Chicago has a Randall half stack just like mine. Which one? The Diavolo or the RM22? I've got two Randall heads. The Diavolo is the one that I use the most. Whoop, what you doing? Okay, you're getting comfy. The Diavolo is the one that I use the most, although that thing, actually, I was in the middle of shooting a video with it the other night, and that thing just flat out died. Just up and quit. I shut it off, for 30 seconds and turned it back on. It came right back up, but, it's weird. So, it's weird. Do you think the vintage USA tubes like a Sylvania or GE make a difference compared to tubes made today? Oh man, I don't know. The problem with those old vintage tubes, man, they don't. Number one, if you find some that that are new old stock that are it's getting harder to find new old stock ones from that era that have never been used. But I suppose they're still out there. But number one, you're going to pay through the nose for them, seems like. Number two, in my experience, tubes matter, but it's, I don't think they're, the preamp tubes seem to be what matter more than power tubes, because power tubes, whatever power tube you put in there, you want to be a matched pair, but, at the end of the day, you're still, you still have to bias the amp properly, in the right spot. So, whatever the power rating is, the bias is just going to get set accordingly. So, but preamp tubes, it all depends on what type of sound you're. I tend to gravitate more towards modern tones anyway. So, the vintage tubes and vintage tones and that kind of stuff. Different strokes, but Yep. Yeah, she's my best friend. She's my best friend, and she's a good little girl, aren't you? She's having a tough time getting comfortable because Dad's holding her up here on his lap in between the chair and the desk, and and then there's a window right behind her with all kinds of stuff going on outside of it that she's I'm surely interested in to some degree, but so yeah, Fret Levelman, I'm with him. Just get JJ's. I mean, JJ's have served me well for, they're affordable. They seem to be pretty stable. They haven't let me down. So, oh boy. Okay, baby. All right. Put you down. There you go. Luis Ortiz, welcome to you. Says, what do you think a Fender Twin Reverb was worth in 1970? 1970 Twin Reverb, well, that'd be Silverface era. So, man, I've seen people. It's some of the vintage Fender stuff, from that era. I don't know if there was any subtle changes there throughout the 70s that they made that determines value from one year to the next. But I mean, most of the 70s, I've seen 70s, Silverface Twin Reverbs sell for $800. I've seen them sell for $1,200. Most of them seem to go for somewhere in that neighborhood. I mean, they're not hard to find. So, there's certainly plenty of them out there, and they're easy enough to come by. They're worth something. They're certainly worth some money, but they're not real rare. They produced a lot of those. So, Black XLC says, have you ever messed with a Kemper profiling amp? No, I have not. I have resisted the modeling thing like crazy. It's just I'm not an effects processor guy. I've never been gotten along with them. No, they're just not my thing. Now, David Hill texted me yesterday, and because he bought one. If you don't follow the Practical Guitars podcast, I encourage you to do so because it's a great show, and those guys got a lot of knowledge, and I learned a lot from them. And they're just great guys, and they also host a Facebook group on Facebook called the Practical Guitarist. So they host their own community, if you will. And David has been they're one of the hot topics on their show recently has been the Kempers and the Axe effects and all that kind of stuff. David's been eyeballing a Kemper here recently, and I bought one at Gearfest. So he's put up several videos showing what that thing can do. He's had it for a week, and he's got probably 10, 20, 30 hours on it already. But he actually texted me yesterday. He actually texted me yesterday because he's just up in Chicago, so he's only a couple hours from here. But he just texted me yesterday, and we're going to try and find time for him to come down here sometime and hang in the next month or so. And he specifically wants to bring the Kemper. So, and we're going to do some recording stuff, and he's actually pretty well versed in recording, so he's going to teach me a thing or two as well. But I told him my concerns about Kempers and modelers and all that kind of stuff, and he said that he was actually it's actually very easy to use, and surprisingly easy to use for people like me who do not like the processor stuff. So I promised him I would be open-minded. So we'll see what happens when that happens, and I'm sure there'll be a video or two to go along with it. So to answer your question, no, I have not. I've sold a couple of used ones here over the years, my store days, but, actually not long after they came out. But have I ever personally messed with them? No, but that answer is likely to change here in the coming month or two. So, wow, we've already been at this an hour and a half over that. So, cool. Well, I would like to take a minute and thank everybody for coming and hanging out. I've been eyeballing this. I don't know if you guys can see the number of people watching or not, but usually we bring in around 15 or 20. This thing's been hovering over 30 and almost to 40 a couple of times today. So I know there's been a lot. There's been a lot of new subscribers, I think, actually, that have joined us here for the live show today. So I want to thank you all for coming to hang out. These live streams are a work in progress, and there's been a few times I've picked up a guitar here and there, but mostly it's kind of just an opportunity for everybody to hang out and talk about guitars. So, at any rate, there's been some new faces, and I'm glad that you guys have all joined us, and we've, my own personal record for most people watching was just broken again today, so thank you all. One last question. Rockin' Day Byron says, the guy from Digitech, what company does he work for now? I think it's Spiral Effects. And I think not only does he work for it, but he is the owner and founder. So, Spiral Effects, that is Spiral, SPIRALFX, I think is how it's, I think it's how to look them up. So, awesome. Well, guys, I really enjoyed hanging out with you guys today. I always enjoy hanging out, but this today was especially fun. So, keep your eyes open tomorrow for another next video is posting tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Eastern time. So make sure and check that out. If you don't get alerts, hit the alert icon on. You might even be able to hit it on this live stream video, or if not, go to any of my other videos and hit the little bell right next to the subscribe button, and hopefully hopefully YouTube will start sending you some emails when new videos come out. So awesome. Thanks, guys. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and happy 4th of July.